Now to take a look at some of our Alaska stories for this Friday morning. It is December the 9th, 2016. After an overnight search for an Anchorage-bound plane with 4 people on board, nothing had been found by Thursday afternoon. At the latest report, 7 different aircraft were searching visually, basically because of the instrumentation being fouled up by the weather. There's a lot of fog in that area as well, so even the visual search isn't doing much to find this plane that took off from a lake headed to Merrill Field in Anchorage. Military officials meeting with the Kodiak community about Northern Edge, trying to assuage their fears after the protests that were held the last time that Northern Edge came to town. The Kenai Peninsula Borough Assembly has revived their invocation policy currently because of the last vote that was taken. This person has to be a member of a recognized religious group in order to be allowed to offer a prayer at the beginning of their meetings. We can have more on that in our commentary today. This has been the 8th time that they've gone back and forth on this issue since allowing a Satanist to give a prayer over the summer. The Atna Corporation has completed drilling a natural gas well near Glen Allen. They're going to begin testing in the middle of the month, hoping to find marketable quantities of natural gas, something which would lower the price of energy, at least for the Glen Allen area, and potentially for the interior as well. Fairbanks Airport Police arrested one of the nation's most wanted, a man who was wanted on child pornography charges. The man has been on the lam for the last several years, and they caught him in a routine traffic stop. It looks like more infrastructure solutions may be headed for rural Alaska as the Cold Climate Research Center is combining a number of different issues together, sewer and water plus housing, to try to figure out a kind of a central planning way of providing these things for rural residents. In Nikiski, troopers shot a driver after a traffic stop did not go well. They actually tried to get the man at home, going after him for a warrant. He left. They tried to pull him over. He instead turned his car and tried to run the troopers down, so they shot him. He's in the hospital. More than 500 attendees are expected at tonight's vigil for the slain Palmer teen. David Grunwald's body was found last weekend, and one of his 16-year-old friends is in custody for murder. State regulators are looking at updating the petroleum spill guidelines now to take into effect safe drinking water for children. And the head of Alaska's Alcohol and Marijuana Control Office is stepping down at the beginning of next month. She's been in that position since before there was a marijuana control board. It was just the alcohol control board when she took over. And as she's moving on, she's hoping that the nascent industry will be able to provide more money to state coffers. Troopers are searching for the public's help in finding out who was at the wheel after a truck crashed and burned on the Steese Highway near Circle. No information about the driver except that his burned body was found inside the burning truck. It appears that he lost control. There was not major damage to the truck in the crash in the ditch. However, the fire started soon after, and they're saying that it looks like the fire is what caused his death. A new measure introduced last night at the Borough Assembly will allow anonymous complaints to the borough, meaning that a person can call in and report somebody for wood burning or for too many vehicles on their property or any other kind of minor code violation without having any actual standing in the issue, meaning that a person just simply driving by can give a call and have a code enforcement officer come out and write a ticket. An Anchorage assemblyman wants red light cameras installed at intersections in Anchorage. They actually used to have cameras being used for photo radar, and that was taken away because of a voter initiative. Now they want to get drivers who are running red lights without actually having to stop the drivers. They'll just send them a ticket in the mail. The man who was shot by Juneau police has been released on bail. His next appearance in court for violations for his parole down in Washington State will be in the middle of the month. The Peninsula School Board is putting together a new panel to look at health care costs and how they can reduce them. And there's been an arraignment in the kidnapping and assault case of a 42-year-old North Pole man who allegedly held his girlfriend hostage in their home and would assault her every time that she tried to leave. Legislation has been pre-filed that would make the permanent fund dividends protected in the Alaska Constitution. Currently, the corpus of the fund is protected and can't be touched, but the earnings can be used any way the legislature wants. This new measure, if it's approved by the legislature, would then have to go to the voters and would make the permanent fund dividends themselves also protected. The Coast Guard airlifted a mariner from a fishing vessel who had leg lacerations, and more details emerging on the death of Mike Kelly, former legislator who died in a plane crash on Wednesday southeast of Fairbanks. He was the only one piloting the plane, the only one on board. At this point, they still don't know where he was headed or where he took off from, so the investigation is continuing. Meanwhile, condolences have been sent to the Kelly family by the Alaska legislature and the governor. The Alaska Senate majority is applauding President-elect Trump for his appointment of Pruitt to lead the EPA. Pruitt, who has been a staunch critic of the EPA's record and policies, has been labeled a climate change denier by the New York Times. There's an article about the amazing set of winter survival tricks that Alaska's birds have at sitnews.us. And another native artist has died. Chilkat weaver Clarissa Rizal died of cancer this week. Senator Murkowski responded after Representative Ryan's spokeswoman said that they're out of time for the energy bill. She said they're not out of time. They want to run us out of time. And lastly, a reminder that it is flu season, and doctors recommend getting the vaccine. However, since the vaccine doesn't always work, they recommend washing hands frequently. That's our Alaska News. My commentary here is in just a moment. You'll see it right here. The commentary will give you my personal view on this peninsula policy about invocations at their borough assembly meetings. I'll tell you what I think and ask you some questions about it, and you can read all about it. Of course, send me your comments, steve@radiofreespeech.com. Please become a sponsor. Make sure you tell your friends about radiofreespeech.com.